Today I'm going to talk about the bend of the elbow and why that matters. I've talked a lot in other videos about how I feel like we need to swing with a straight arm. The reason for that is if my arm is straight, then the sweet spot of this paddle is always the same distance away from my shoulder, so it makes my swings more consistent, it makes my targeting better, it lets me hit the ball more consistently out of the sweet spot of this paddle because I have the same distance. If I'm starting to bend things up and have a bent elbow or any of this, then the distance between the sweet spot of that paddle and my shoulder changes, and so then I have to adjust everything in my swing to accommodate for that. If when I swing I can keep that straight arm, then the sweet spot of my paddle is always that same distance away, and that's a good thing. It's way more predictable. This belief is true, in my opinion, for both the serve and the forehand drive, and I consider those really the same swing. The mechanics are roughly the same for the serve and for the forehand drive. The only difference is I'm holding the ball for the serve. Someone has hit the ball at me and I have to react to that if I'm hitting a forehand drive. Other than that, the mechanics should be the same. So again, if I can swing at either one of those with a straight arm, the sweet spot of my paddle is generally in a very predictable place, meaning my consistency should go up because I know where I need to be hitting that ball with my paddle because that sweet spot is always the same distance away. To do that then, I'm swinging with my shoulder muscles, and it also allows me to have shoulder rotation and rotate with my core, get more body into my shot and more power when I need it or when I want it. So I'm swinging more with my shoulder group and twisting with my core muscles to hit those forehand drives and to hit those serves. So that's a good thing. And swinging with the straight arm then has a very elongated swing path, meaning that I'll turn sideways here, thinking of the serve or the forehand drive, either one, same mechanics here. If I'm swinging from my shoulder, then this is a very elongated path here, and if I put my shoulder rotation and my core rotation into this and use more of my body mass, same thing. It's a nice elongated swing here. And so the area where I can hit that ball is bigger because my swing path is a little bit flatter as I'm coming through this elongated motion. So from here to here to here, not really that much of a difference in my paddle angle or my paddle height. Yeah, there's a little bit of difference, but it's relatively flat. The flip side of that is I swing with my bicep muscle group, meaning that I could start out with an elongated arm, but as I'm hitting this ball, then I'm flexing here at the elbow, employing my biceps more and my shoulder less. So as this ball comes in, I get here to the ball and you can see that this arc is more condensed. It's not as elongated as this is. So if we're swinging with our bicep muscles, it's a more concentrated, more compact arc, and my hitting box is very, very much smaller here. So if I envision this through here, you can see this is not very flat anymore. The path of the paddle going through air, hitting this ball is not very flat. It's very compact and very angular. And so the area where I can hit this ball consistently well is very small because this arc is more severe coming through here. It's way more compact, and that's why I'm not a big fan of swinging with this bicep muscle group. I think some people do it because they feel like they get more power, is I can do this with my bicep and that may be stronger than our shoulder muscle group, but this definitely not as good because it's a more compact swing here, and that arc is not nearly as elongated or nearly as flat as that arc. Another not so good thing about using my bicep to swing and having this type of a swing path is that it's more difficult for me to employ good shoulder rotation and use of my core muscles to get more body mass into this. So as I'm swinging with a straight arm, it's easier to do this and rotate my shoulders into this. I'll turn this way as well. All right, so shoulder rotation, use my shoulders to twist and my core muscles to help generate some of that body mass into the swing. If I'm swinging primarily out of my bicep and bending here at the elbow, then it's harder to, if I'm here and doing this swing, it's harder to add in that shoulder rotation and have that help my swing at all. So potentially, while I may feel like my bicep is stronger, it limits my ability to rotate my whole body and use this bigger muscle mass down here in my core to actually throw more power into the shot when I want to. So if I'm swinging with a straight arm, I can get shoulder rotation, so I'm not just using my shoulder anymore, but I'm adding in my legs, my hip, and my core muscles. If I'm swinging with my bicep, it's a little bit more difficult here to add that shoulder and body rotation in to get more power and more control. As I work with students, then I tell them to swing out of the shoulder, meaning use this muscle group, and to use our core to rotate into these shots and not our bicep, and not do this. And sometimes that's a hard concept to grasp. It's like, how do I swing out of my shoulder and keep this arm long like this? And we'll do some of these practice swings where we're swinging like a pendulum, as I've talked about before. So one thing that may help you, and has helped some of my students, is to focus on the bend of the elbow and how important that is. If I can focus on bringing the bend of the elbow forward as I swing, then that helps prevent me from doing this, because now I have stopped bringing the bend of the elbow forward. So as I'm talking to students and working with them, and we're going through these motions, and I'm having them focus on bringing the bend of the elbow forward, that will help keep that arm straight, and then that sweet spot of the paddle is always the same distance away. So practice this. Maybe you can do this in your home if you're not doing this, if you're not swinging with the straight arm already. Back here, and as I'm swinging forward, and I can do this in slow motion and focus on that bend of the elbow and bringing this forward, eventually it's going to come up and over my shoulder and bend, and that's fine. Ball's already gone. So I'm doing this. I'll turn sideways. So as I'm swinging and hitting this ball, I'm thinking about the bend of this elbow and actually pulling that forward, and that will help me mentally keep my arm straight. And it will also prevent me from getting here and flexing here using these bicep muscles. I don't want this compact swing motion. If I will focus on bringing the bend of this elbow forward, that helps keep my paddle arm straight and have a much more consistent shot for both those serves and for those forehand drives. If you're not sure what you're doing, as always, go record yourself and watch yourself. There's no substitute for watching yourself on video and seeing exactly what you're doing. I know there's some people that play here even, and they're employing a lot of this motion when they're hitting, and I don't think that they understand that they're doing that, or that they should be doing a little bit differently. If you're not self-aware of what your body's doing, do it in slow motion. Go at home, get in front of a mirror, and just watch yourself swing, and then turn sideways. So I'll be looking at the mirror this way, be swinging, and I'm focused on this bend of the elbow coming forward. Turn sideways to the mirror, and you could watch yourself. Like if I'm swinging this way and bringing that bend of the elbow forward. That should help your shots be way more consistent. That elongated swing path, which is flatter through a bigger area, you'll hit the ball better. If you're bending at the elbow and doing this, please stop. Now go practice.